Hello everyone, while I do typically tend to stick to VR chat exposure videos, and oh boy do I have a great VR chat video coming out for you soon, today we're actually not talking about VR chat. Instead, we're talking about another game called Cry of Fear. Now, I'm not sure how you would be unfamiliar with Cry of Fear, it's kind of the pinnacle of horror gaming, but if you are unfamiliar, here's what it essentially is. It's a Half-Life mod that was incredibly successful, but in case you are still lost somehow, Half-Life is a shooter FPS game that paved the way for games like TF2, Gmod, and all those other Half-Life games, Valve games. Still, Gold Source, the modding platform that uses Half-Life as its base, basically allowed modded clients of Half-Life Engine, which allowed players to create their own video games such as Cry of Fear. Cry of Fear was a masterpiece of horror, one of the most memorable, most horrifying, story-driven, well-made experiences ever. And this is coming from someone who owns nearly 400 scary games. The game Cry of Fear brought awareness to mental illness, substance abuse, and overall predatory experiences. But I have to ask, how can someone capture these things, these events so perfectly without having some sort of prior knowledge of them firsthand? My unconfirmed suspicions were far too accurate for Andreas aka Rumple, the head developer of Cry of Fear. Allegations from nearly a decade ago have resurfaced. While I had never been aware of such claims, I'm kinda just heartbroken to have learned this information, as Cry of Fear was a huge influence me for when I was younger and playing video games. It was just disappointing to learn all of this from an announcement from the official Cry of Fear Discord server that doesn't go in depth about the situation. They just gloss right over it as if nothing happened. And they know people have questions about the problem, but if you ask those questions, they'll kick or ban you in the official Cry of Fear Discord server. They do not care. Now, just because these allegations with Andreas had occurred a decade ago, it doesn't mean that it can't be spoken about or that it can't be addressed. I'd also like to say that alcoholism, overdoses, antidepressants, these things cannot erase the fact that illegal things have allegedly transpired with someone below the legal age of consent. As Andreas' response states on screen here, he cannot be held responsible because all of these things were done while he was under the influence of drugs or alcohol, but that is just not how it works. Also, the 44 shower react emotes really got me dying. A well-made video by Leon Talks A Lot on YouTube goes more in depth about the allegations that Andreas faces. Still, this video is essentially the Cliff Note version of the Google Drive that Leon uses to expose Andreas' horrifying actions. And let me tell you, they are horrifying. This video is constantly threatened with YouTube privacy claims from Andreas aka Rumple, who gets very upset about others publicly discussing his allegations if they aren't in his favor. He became so upset about Leon's video that he did in fact privacy claim Leon's video and get it removed from pretty much several areas around the world.
Posted last week going over the allegations made against Rumple, aka Andreas, the creator of Cry of Fear, has now been blocked in the EU and is no longer available in Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, and finally, Switzerland. This is because Rumple filed a privacy complaint against my video, claiming that it was infringing on his privacy, and YouTube agreed. In the email sent to me by YouTube, all of the timestamps point directly towards the incredibly disturbing voice messages that Rumple sent to Victim 2. Now, originally when I received this privacy complaint, I went, surely YouTube will see reason.
Well, YouTube didn't see reason, because we learned that YouTube has actually chosen to side with Rumple, not a big shocker, and Andreas continues to live in denial and continues to use that excuse of being under the influence. It controls my actions. But here's the thing though, Rumple. Just because you were under the influence, those allegations of all those things that you did to those people, or with those people, it doesn't just magically disappear. Also, Andreas, if you are seeing this, drugs, alcohol, whatever it may be, again, none of it is an excuse. Nothing is an excuse when it comes down to the safety of children IRL and online. Also, privacy complaints against people trying to spread the word about your misdeeds is next level scumbaggery. In the Rumple responded video by Leon, there was a comment pinned by Leon themselves underneath this video in particular by a user named Toxic. And unironically, this person is seemingly toxic. Wow, who would have guessed, huh? It starts off by stating that Leon Toxlot is a scum, like bro's General Grievous or something. I don't freaking, what? And then Toxic claims that Andreas explained the context of the situation. Where? Where did Andreas explain anything? Where did he explain the context other than saying, oh, my drugs made me do it? Bro, not on his server announcement, not in any sort of announcement. He literally just said, oh yeah, these people are releasing this information. They're making it seem like I'm a bad dude because I had inappropriate conversations while being under the influence. I can't be held accountable for that. Dude, literally, it's not an excuse. I've never been intoxicated. I've never been under the influence or done drugs or anything like that. But I'll be honest with you, this is bull crap, baloney. It was Rumpel's choice to take those drugs in the first place. It wasn't involuntary, it wasn't forced upon Rumpel, and it just takes one measly little Google search to see that you can and should be held accountable for your actions, Rumpel, even if under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Just search it up. There is a second response from Andreas here, aka Rumpel, and essentially it boils down to a statement designed to make him look good. It's a save face, ultimately, and a lot of people did wind up siding with Rumpel on TikTok when he released this statement. To my own surprise as well. Essentially, again, Rumpel doubles down and states that it's all just being twisted, a twisted narrative, and it's being taken out of context. But as Leon stated, where is that context then, Rumpel? Where is it? Because you're not giving it to us. It's just all spewing about save-face bullcrap by Rumpel to make himself look good, and there's no real accountability even in this message, and even the fake accountability statement towards the end. I've apologized. No, literally, no, you haven't. And we can prove it. We can see clearly that it's stated that Andreas never truly apologized to this victim, and that the victim and their partner today demanded an apology eons ago for the events that transpired. They mention that he did attempt to make an apology, but that it was really, really horrible. Still, Andreas repeated this mistake with another individual, demonstrating that Andreas' apology to this first victim wasn't really genuine after all. Andreas, you can't take back the horrible things that you've said or you've done, but you can still apologize. You can take the time and effort to put as much care into your apology as you did with Cry of Fear. Demonstrate sympathy, demonstrate sorrow for the actions that you've committed with these victims, and show you mean it instead of running away, making excuses, and filing these privacy complaints. There are no excuses such as drugs. There's nothing to get you out of this. And calling others stalkers, this game won't work for you. Time waits for no one. That being said, let's go ahead and get into the proof and the receipts of things happening with Andreas and the victim. First victim is named Sanit, as they are called. They had met Andreas/Rumpel on Facebook. Facebook. They were 17, close to turning 18, but they had reached out to the official Cry of Fear page for a photo project. They'd studied photography in their hometown, so this became pretty much the perfect opportunity for Sanit to create a project that compared reality to fiction. So they sought out permission to make sure that this was fine with the creator of Cry of Fear. So Andreas suddenly contacted Sanit, the victim, and agreed to allow Sanit to make this project a reality. Andreas wanted to take this conversation a bit further by essentially asking for the victim's Skype, so Sanit, being a huge fan, decided to give up that Skype. As we keep going, we learn that although things started off innocently enough, Andreas suggested that they do a fan meetup with this victim where he would take Sanit out for dinner. This is essentially just asking to go on a date, in my opinion. It's really weird. Either way, Andreas decides to butter up Sanit and states that he doesn't have many fans like Sanit who live in Sweden. As Sanit states, back then they used to go as female, and so Andreas saw Sanit as this young fangirl. It's just really creepy. Why do you need this young girl's Skype to discuss their project with you? Andreas, why do you need to take her out on a date? Because I'll tell you right now, you don't have to. You can just give permission to make the project. It's not that hard to do. All this other stuff is just your personal controlling weirdo agenda. It's creepy. After Sanit met with Andreas, he began flirting and commenting about them being a, quote, cute fan of his, which is pretty groomer-like if you ask me. Andreas was worried about his girlfriend finding out about this individual and continued to worry about her getting jealous. Andreas explains that he was losing interest in his girlfriend and was now interested in this victim instead. Being that hopeless romantic that Sanit is, they decided to give it a shot. But things took a turn for the worse, and Andreas Rumpel began getting very explicit with this victim. He knew that they were lonely and were having a rough time at school, and that they just genuinely needed somebody. In this case, Andreas took advantage of this trust and of this fact and solicited explicit photos from his victim. As the victim turned 18, Andreas again tried to urge this victim to meet up with him so that he could do specifically explicit activities with them. Andreas tells us that his girlfriend isn't giving him the touch he needs, so now he needs to request it from this fan who is actively being manipulated in this situation. This can be proven that it occurred as Santa had actually posted a Reddit post asking the question, "Me, 18F, is having an explicit relationship with my 24M idol, and he has a girlfriend of 4 years." This post was on Reddit 9 years ago. Prove this account belongs to Santa. They post a screenshot of themselves being logged in here. So, it's definitely their account. In this next screenshot, which is translated from the bottom image, we can see that Andreas is giving relationship advice to this victim, reassuring them that they'll find someone who lives in their area. But I have to ask, why are you giving relationship advice to someone that's 6 years younger than you? And don't you already have a partner? You literally proposed to your girlfriend on a Facebook post not too long ago before this. What was the point of proposing if you're just going to go behind her back and cheat? Andreas begins asking this victim if they've tried Tinder or perhaps typing to someone random on Facebook. But here's the thing about Facebook. If you type to someone random on Facebook, they could be a minion enthusiast or a killer or murderer. Either way, don't use Facebook. Also, Andreas talks about how he would have been in a relationship with Santa, the victim, had he been single when Santa had written to him about their project. But Santa didn't write to get into a relationship with you, Andreas. They were working on their school project. So you're telling me you would have gotten into a relationship with someone 6 years younger than you, Andreas? You are disgusting, dude. You're a fraud. Also, why are you talking about dating apps with this victim that you've been manipulating openly? This next bit is very concerning. As you can see here, Andreas is talking about Tinder being fun and talks about, quote, nabbing someone, which is a very weird way to say that he's grabbing someone. But dude, what are you, a kidnapper? Well, I guess you do allegedly like napping with kids, so I guess it sort of checks out. Anyways, as stated in the conversation here, Andreas states, "No, I was just curious what the whole thing with Tinder was, and who wouldn't want to have with you?" Like, dude, what? This is someone that you've actively been taking advantage of for a very long time. You're also actively engaged to an entirely different woman. Why are you speaking to this victim like this? On top of that, why are you openly being racist? What did this have to do with race whatsoever? What was the point? You're a horrible human being. Andreas talks about Santa, the victim, being a boy magnet, and himself being a magnet, but then states that he's, quote, the biggest weirdo but manages either way. My brother, at least you can see that you're a weirdo. It's disgusting. You've taken advantage of this person, Andreas, and the evidence is right here in front of our faces. How long can you continue to live in denial? It genuinely amazes me. In this next text, we learn that Andreas enjoys it when people admire the work or the things that he does. He also enjoys his fans a little too much. He thinks his fans are hot. Yeah, you heard me right. He thinks his fans are hot. And he admits to this, and he enjoys that this person is Swede. I don't know what that means. I think it means Swedish. But he enjoys explicitly finding someone like this because, as stated in Andreas' own words, "I haven't managed to find another Swede who's good looking." Dude, you're a predator. Now, Andreas goes ahead and starts talking about this victim getting rid of their V-card with someone that actually looks good. This is disgusting. As someone who once admired your work and admired your games as well, I'm not just disappointed, I'm appalled and taken back by your actions. You were an inspiration to me, and now you are no longer an inspiration. In fact, you are the entire opposite. You are everything that I despise. There is no need to talk about these sort of things with someone who is 6 years younger than you. You're a creeper, and this person's a victim, and that's what it is. Disgusting cherry on top of this all, you asked for a picture pledge of this victim. If they leaked the information about your new upcoming games, you would leak the picture of them in return. This is a manipulation tactic at its finest. You are a horrible human being, and you deserve to be locked up. That's just my honest opinion. After this, inside of the screenshots of the drive, Andreas talks about getting permission to have moist dreams with this victim, and even a message where he'd call this victim cutie. To me, this is ultimately just, and you've ultimately taken advantage of this individual. You wanted to wait until they were 18. You had intent to date them before and after. You said so yourself, and you even tried to get them to do explicit activities with you. And for a decade, you got away with everything. You silenced your victims because you're simply a video game creator that people love. Cry of Fear was unique to us all, yet you, Andreas, crumbled what it originally meant. I hear people say, separate the art from the artist, ooh, all the time, but if we continue to support Cry of Fear, we continue to support you, Andreas. And what good does that do for the victims that you have wronged? It does nothing for them, and it just hides the evil that you've committed. So please, stand up and apologize properly and acknowledge the things that you've done. And please, people, stop standing with Andreas on social media and stand with Leon and Senate, the people who are exposing the horrifying actions of this predatory individual. Believe it or not, there is actually a second victim after the first victim that we just spoke about. They weren't even a teenager when they had met Andreas or Rumple. They were just a young girl who liked and wanted to meet their favorite game developer, Cry of Fear. The story repeats itself, it would seem. Andreas enjoyed the attention that he received from this child, and over the years, Andreas would receive many pictures from this victim, not explicit photos, but still like bathtub photos with feet, and there's even a brief mention of moist dreams again. When the second victim turned 18, he instantly invited this victim to hang out. This would be the second time that Andreas has invited someone below the legal age of consent to come hang out with him. And he wanted to wait until they were legally a consenting adult to do things with them. Second victim actually confirms it themselves, talking about how Andreas would speak to them for many, many years, but specifically when they were 15/16, we can see the victim state, "But not that much when I turned 18, like he was waiting for it." It goes even further into detail where the victim recalls a message of, "I still remember that message where he asked, 'Where do I like to touch me?'" It's disgusting to talk about these things with someone who is below the legal age of consent, and it is not acceptable in any manner, especially if they are 3 or 4 years below the legal age of consent and you are an adult. This is disgusting, Andreas. This right here was sort of the final nail in the coffin for me, an admission to watching them, quote, grow, quote, raise them, and, quote, help them. But in truth, this is the proof. This is proof that you are indeed a predatory individual. You aren't going to get away with this any longer. I'm going to go ahead and play an audio real quick just because I want to demonstrate how manipulative Andreas truly is. For reasons, I'm going to have to distort this audio because Leon previously had played an audio and Andreas had gotten a copyright struck. So here you go. Give a listen to this.
That's why I didn't cut myself because of you. And I didn't want to because of you. It wasn't that. I just had a bad day and things escalated. And I cut myself because of all the bullying. I just took as many pills as I could. Drank a lot of alcohol, hoping to not wake up tomorrow. Are you even listening? I told you everything, but you misunderstood it. And you're making this about yourself again. This isn't about you. This is about me. You have nothing to do with this.
In this message, he goes from talking about subjects of self-no-good, if you know what I'm talking about, to talking about being bullied, and talking about how nothing is about the victim whatsoever. It's all about Andreas. Poor old Andreas. Truly a piece of work for a human being. So when you see this individual talking online about how sorry they are, they don't really mean any of that, and I strongly suggest that the people that are actively defending Andreas Ronberg reconsider their actions, because these people that Andreas Ronberg is purposely hiding are genuinely real people that have feelings that he has affected. So stop letting him get away with this, help hold him accountable, and please, Andreas, like I keep saying, step forward and admit to what you've done. Now, I know there has been a lot to unpack here in 20 minutes. There are so many screenshots that I haven't even begun to use or cover. It's so much proof that Andreas Ronberg, aka Rumple, isn't someone who should be considered a celebrity, specifically because they misuse this status to take advantage of young girls or young fans. Throughout the years, they have demonstrated not a single ounce of change, and they continue to disappoint their loyal fans. To those who doubt these allegations, they are real. The people that are affected are real. And as if you side with Andreas' statements of, no you're on the wrong side. Andreas is indeed guilty of the allegations, according to the law and according to the proof. So it is what it is. So nothing else to say. Remember to report predators to the hotline, report predators to the proper authorities, join the Discord if you want a case to be talked about or covered, and my heart goes out to both victims in this situation and all the victims of Andreas Ronberg. Please continue to stay strong. I hope this video will help you to come forward with your own experiences if you have any, and please remember to just stay safe. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye, y'all.
Or maybe I should call you by your online identity, Sileskios. Chris Hansen here of Hansen versus Predators. To catch a predator, have a seat with Chris Hansen. My streaming crime network, True Blue, all the rest. I'm gonna need you to have a seat right over there. Oh yes, I've been checking out your YouTube activity. 35,000 subscribers.